Alright, so what did she actually see? When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor sword? You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that! Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright? She really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture. I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. I mean, that would be the book. Ah, now we can actually take a look at the book. Whereas before, it was just the 2 pieces of evidence law. So there's a little... Oh! I was expecting it to be the little mascot character. But nope, there's a picture. Hey, there's a picture here. Oh my! This is the actual crime scene! No other detective saw the crime scene like this. Because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I had rearranged everything. Okay. So the actual placement of Marshall's body when he died. Mr. Wright! That piece cut out from his vest! Could that be? The cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe! What's this? This is a handprint, isn't it? That cloth! It had fingerprints on it! Whoever's fingerprints those are must be the real murderer! I got bad news for you, Emma. Unless the cloth is also fabricated, which I'm kind of being led to believe that it is. But right now it looks real bad. What? But those fingerprints, they're yours, Emma! Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer. Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Okay. So, let's see. Oh! Gant! Come now, Udgy. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Chief Gant! What? Now you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. Yes, that's true. Wait! You mean you still have some conclusive evidence? No, I don't. But someone does. Someone? So, what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death. Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt. Is this true, Mr. Wright? If I show that piece of evidence now, Emma's sure to be made out as the murderer. Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. What do I do now? I better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Okay, so we have the picture here. Before we get into anything that might prevent us from looking over anything. So we have the suit of armor. We have the piece of cloth that was cut out. And we have the piece of cloth here. Have a really oily hand. Think about it scientifically. More likely explanation is the person slipped and fell on a freshly waxed floor, getting wax all over their hand. I always slip on floors at school after they're waxed, even though it's totally just her to begin with. At least that's what we're made to believe. Oh! Oh, interesting. So now it goes back to this. In other words, it must be relevant to the case on trial. Ugh. Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? The fact that it's not showing up probably leads me to believe that this doesn't really have much bearing. I don't think we have much of a choice. If we don't show that evidence, then we're concealing it, and that becomes bad, so we'll probably be compelled to do it anyway. Well... Yes, Your Honor. I do have further evidence. All right! The time's finally come to show it, then! Those prints have got to be the Chief's! Now then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. I mean, it all kind of leads to this. If I'm wrong, then I can load up a save, but... It's a piece of leather cloth? Yes. It most likely was cut from the victim's vest, near his chest. What's this? There's a big handprint on it! Surely it must have been left on the cloth by whoever shoved the victim into the sword. What? Whose fingerprints are on this? I'm sure Raito has checked. Haven't you? Well, whose are they? They're Miss Skies. Miss Emma Skies. What?! They're mine?! So, I really did do it. See? I told you it was conclusive. But this was found in your safe! That means it's possible you forged it! I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember any cloth in my safe. Do you really expect me to believe that? But... Give it up, Mr. Wright. It's over. You shouldn't have presented that. By presenting that evidence, you tied Emma Sky to Neil Marshall's death. No. It appears we have our killer. No! No! Everything hinged on that point. In the end, Lana alone was found guilty on all counts. Oh wow! I did not expect to get an instant game over! I didn't even know that was a thing in this game! I guess that does make sense though. Well, okay. I really wasn't expecting an auto game over. Well, let's get back to where we were. Okay. So, let's go ahead. I get the feeling that we do have to show evidence. But not the piece of cloth, since that was an obvious, like, instant game over. I say obvious, and yet I did it anyway, because I didn't expect the game to give an auto game over. Actually... I wonder if we could just do this instead. Actually, murdered Prosecutor Marshall. Oh wait, no, that was Marshall's handprint, not the... Let's see. I still think that... There's like this little smudge right here just kind of looks like handprints or something. Like someone just kind of gripped it or something. I can't actually take a look at it. Evidence shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall, and somehow I have to tie that to Gant. And not Emma. I'm trying to look at, like, the silhouettes here. I mean, that was from Lana's picture. The evidence list doesn't really have anything there. I mean... Again, I'm trying to find, like, where it actually shows. Evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. Is it the jar again? We've definitively tied Gant to doing the hiding it. So maybe? I'm trying to think what else could potentially, that we have that could potentially tie it. There is also just refusing to do so, but I don't know, that might end up just biting us. The picture, maybe? I'm trying to think, what would the picture necessarily tell that isn't just what Gant wants us to see? I mean, I still think it's the jar because the Emmett... Gant hid that piece of the jar there, and he had to have spelt out Emma. Because it's either Neil or Gant, and I'm willing to bet it's Gant that did that. I'm gonna try. Can't show them that yet. Why not? You know which item to show. Mr. Wright, if you're not sure, then think it through again. How can you use that evidence to your advantage? How can I use that piece of evidence to my advantage? Okay, well, thankfully, if I just don't pick the right thing, then it doesn't actually penalize me. I mean, there's that, or possibly, like, the King of Prosecutors trophy. Let's try the picture, since we're not actually being penalized by this. Now, if you're not sure, then think it through again. How can you use that evidence to your advantage? So, according to Edgeworth, okay, so yeah, I absolutely have to show something, and it has to tie it to Gant. King of Prosecutors trophy, maybe? Nope. I'm glad that this doesn't actually hurt me for trying. I mean, maybe it's the picture itself, because that actually shows the halberd part. Nope. How can I use that piece of evidence to my advantage? How can I use the piece of cloth? Because there was no other... There was no dialogue after this. And this is what Gant wants me to do. The evidence list, maybe? No. Man, what does Edgeworth mean that I need to use the piece of cloth to my advantage? There's the knife. Maybe? No. I'm still convinced that the knife has fingerprints on it, and I just can't actually examine it for some reason. I don't know if it actually is, or if it's just that smudge that keeps making me think so. Let's see. So we already tried that. I don't think there was really anything here that... Yeah, that's just general information. Let's see. Between 7 and 7:30, single stab wound, piercing the heart and lung. Died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm trying to think what Edgeworth means by this. How can I use the piece of cloth to my advantage without just straight up showing the piece of cloth? I suppose I could just theoretically just muscle through it and just try every other piece of evidence that I have. So I tried the picture. Autopsy report won't tell me anything. That's just Marshall's fingerprints on his own locker. Well, Jake's specifically. We already tried the jar. I mean, what's weird is the rubber glove. Like, why was that part of the SL9 incident? I tried that, and everything else deals with Goodman's death and doesn't have anything to do with SL9. So, glove? Now... Well, I mean, I already did a quick save. Maybe I just don't show anything. If I get an instant game over, then at least I have a save to get back here quickly. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie! Chief Gant? You opened my safe! I know you took what was inside! The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together! Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks like part of it's been cut for some reason. You mean you had this in your safe? What? That means you, the chief of police, have been concealing evidence! This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department! Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You mean you admit to it? I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her! I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Sky. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the floor. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dark convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe? But why? For insurance, of course. Insurance? I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for the murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence? What do you take me for? A fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces. But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar, too? Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Come on, Wrighto. Cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant. That you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe. Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present. Foolish move, Wrighto. You should have shown it then before it was too late. Yeah, and it got me an instant game over, Gant, so I know that's a bunch of lies. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Saving again! Okay, this time it counts. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. Okay, now, do I show the cloth and possibly get another game over? Okay. So yeah, now I'm trying to think, because if I show the piece of cloth, this is what Gant wants me to show. Granted, we've already conclusively proven that it was in his safe, but he cut it out and hid it as insurance. Is it maybe just... Actually, I'm kind of wondering. Because the piece of cloth, like, it's very neat, and you'd expect, like, there to be, like, maybe another print on here. Really oily hand. Okay, no, this is what she was saying earlier. So that doesn't really help. And I'm willing to bet... It's kind of the problem now. Now it actually counts! Hold on a sec. The picture itself. No, I don't think it would really matter. Well, oh, actually. No, I think it would matter. There's no blood on this thing. If it was really done after this, you'd expect it to be full of blood. And if it was full of blood, and if it was washed away, then there wouldn't be any fingerprints left on there. Maybe it's the picture. Because it shows that whatever this thing was, it was faked. If I just show the cloth, like what Gant wants me to do, then it just proves that Emma's guilty, blah, 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 blah. It proves his own point. I think it's the picture. Take that! Mr. Edgeworth, your opinion, please. Oh, no. Crap. Man, I thought I had something. Thing with the murderer's handprint. Okay, so yes, it is something that I have to present. Saying no doesn't actually do anything. Because it just automatically took me back here. So it's not the picture. Is it as simple as just showing the piece of cloth at this point? I mean, I've got several options here. I really don't want to have to do the cloth. I really don't. I'm gonna try the picture here. Probably isn't it, but I'm trying to avoid using the cloth if I can. No. Okay. Yeah, because Gantz just shows that. So it's not that. I'll try the jar. If it's not the jar, then I'm just gonna go with the handprint. Okay, yeah, I think the game actually does want me to show the handprint at this point. If it's an auto game over, then at least I know. Well, let's go ahead and do it. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh, yes! At last, you finally brought it out into the open. There's a handprint on this piece of cloth! Your Honor, the prosecution requests that to be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather. There must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly. You mean... it could not have been forged! It must be authentic, conclusive evidence! You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy. What? Think about it. Wright had all this time to present this evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that! Mr. Wright, do you really know? Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well. I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is... If you're confident, Phoenix! Emma! Emma Sky?! What?! They're mine?! I'm sorry, Emma. But why?! Why didn't you tell me?! You're really something, Rhino. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death. How could you? You monster! Miss Sky, you knew those fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. Ha! But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career, too. You purposefully concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy! What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer. Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh, and what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you're absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? It was Emma Skye, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. What? A contradiction? What is this fool blabbering about? I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is. Mr. Wright! This piece of cloth, what could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. I'm sorry, what?